penalty to England.
The best team won, but for me, is never a penalty, especially at this level, a semi-final of a Euro. I don't understand really the referee decision, and I don't understand even less the fact that the VAR didn't bring the referee into the screen or didn't turn the decision. For me, is never a penalty.
Jose Mourinho post-match last night. The best team won. England won, of course. They're in the final against Italy this Sunday, 8 o'clock for that, live on talkSPORT. But Jose said for him, it was never a penalty. Anyway, Sterling goes to ground, penalty given. Kane at the second attempt won it for England. Simon is with me, so too is Andros Townsend. Andros, you play, we don't. Was it a penalty?
100% a penalty, Jim. 100% a penalty. I think in every incident, when you slow it down and you look at different angles, slow motion always makes the contact look less than what it actually was. But full speed, he's done well to avoid the first challenge, and then the second guy's just clipped him. And when you're running in a different direction from the defender, all it takes is a little clip to knock you off balance. And I think you see in full speed that he does clip him at some speed, and he goes down, he loses his footing. For me, it's 100% a penalty.
100% a penalty. Simon, what was your take when you watched it live? Did you think, oh, right, they've got away with one here?
Yeah.
Or did you think, no, it's a pen?
No, I didn't think it was penalty. And I think there's the benefit of playing in front of 60,000 fans at your home stadium with a referee on the pitch making an on-pitch decision which wasn't going to be reversed by VAR, because the edict and the mantra from the VAR guys is, if you can, stay with the on-field decision. I thought it was a very soft penalty. I'm not suggesting that he cheated himself into a penalty, and I wouldn't go as far as that. But I do think we have to look at it and say, we were fortunate to get that penalty. I wonder, and we can surmise these things forever and a day, if that game had been played in Rome, would we have got a penalty in that instance? Because my first reaction was, no, it's a very, very, very soft penalty. But when you have fortune on your side...
Oh, that's right.
What do you want in life? Do you want... You know, sometimes a lucky manager is better than a good manager. And Harry Kane runs up. I think if you look at the whole game, if you want to talk about cheating and diving the whole game, I'm sorry. If you want to watch Harry Kane throwing himself to the ground the entire game, we sat here on this show ridiculing the Italians, ridiculing some of their antics, throwing him Immobile, throwing himself left, right and centre. I like Harry Kane as a footballer, but he throws himself to the ground at every single opportunity he can. So we have to call things out for what they are. It's rife in this game that people are buying fouls, that people are simulating, and people are creating a situation where they're conning the referees into giving free kicks. But as far as the penalty is concerned, in my view, watching it and keep repeatedly watching it, it's a very soft penalty.
I disagree. I think it definitely can't be a dive because it's clear contact. The contact doesn't look that severe on the slowed down replays, but I've been in many situations before where I've been in a similar situation. I've been clipped. There's no way I could stay on my feet, and then I'll get home after the game, I'll look at 3 or 4 replays, and it doesn't look like there's much contact at all. But when you're changing direction like that, when you're going across your man, it's any little contact that knocks you off your feet, and for me it was the right decision.
But but Andros, how do you persuade us who are watching it that he doesn't go to ground just so easily to win the thing? Because
are you accepting that there is contact though?
Well, to me, looking at it again and again, as I have done, he brushes against a Danish player and collapses in a heap. Now, I got to say it, and I stress this, if it was 1-1 with Scotland at this stage, and say Shea Adams, I'd be saying exactly the same thing.
Don't get me wrong, if it was a dive, I couldn't care less. But the fact that you've watched so many slow motion replays and you can see a brush. Imagine if now you're watching it full speed and you're watching it close up in full speed. That brush turns into enough contact to knock him off his feet.
It's a contact sport.
We
are losing sight of the fact it's a contact sport.
Yeah, but I think that's a whole different argument.
What's your take on what Simon was saying about Kane? Kane is in the front and the back of every newspaper this morning being lauded. And Simon, you've every right to think what you think, mate. But you think he flies around and goes to ground way too much.
Oh yeah, no, undeniably. And I just think that if we're going to be balanced and objective, we've sat here across this platform talking about the antics of other teams and talking about the antics of their players and what they do and don't do. And yes, they're a bit more cynical and a bit more demonstrative, but it's in the same bracket. It's in the same category. It's a close cousin. Harry spends his time inviting contact, not actually getting the contact, and simulating fouls. Now, we can say that's great, and we can say it's part of the game, and we can say brushing up against somebody is contact that gets a penalty. But I don't concur with that.
You've played with Kane. Is Simon
I've played
right
with him.
this?
I've played against him. Yes, he
Does
does.
he do this?
He invites contact, but all top players, all clever players, invite contact, but he never simulates contact. He'll never go down without any contact. There's a difference between getting your body between the man and the ball, which all good players should do.
Sure.
But he definitely doesn't simulate contact, and he definitely didn't do that last night. He led the line incredibly well. I don't think he was man of the match, but I thought he was very, very good last night.
But they're two different things. Leading the line incredibly well, and at times there were fouls that he got where there was no contact. He may not do it in every single instance, and you may have a right.
Have you got some evidence for that?
I've watched the game. I watched the game, and I watched it and watched it and watched it. So the evidence that I had was the same evidence you would have, was in front of my own eyes. I'm not speaking about it from a player's point of view. You're speaking about it from a player's point of view. I'm looking at it from a completely objective point of view. Outstanding footballer, should never have got the nonsense that he got earlier in the tournament. Never should be a question about whether he should be in the team. But let's call things as they are. Let's not all be in one camp because it's easy to be in that camp. There were times in that game where Harry Kane does precisely what every other footballer does, and we're very pious here in this country. We're sitting there making observations about other countries' players. We need to be balanced in our own view. We've got to call things for what they are.
Andros, that is a fair point.
I agree with the point.
We do have a blast at the other nations for this.
But unless you show me a clip where he has dived, I can't comment. What I see is Harry Kane does what every good player should do. He gets his body between man and the ball. But that's just the first thing you learn. You don't learn to let the man have a chance to swipe round and take the ball for you. You need to get your body between man and the ball, and because he's strong.
In other words, you're doing anything to win the match.
No, it's not that. You have to.
Could Sterling have stayed on his feet?
I don't think he could have.
Do you think Sterling could have stayed
in
his
slow
feet,
motion?
Sam?
It looks yes, but I don't think he could have.
I think it's a soft penalty. I think it's a very soft penalty, and I think if we would have been on the receiving end of this, we would have been outraged. If it was us sitting here with Andros sitting on the other side of this as an Englishman watching a Dane do what Raheem had done, we'd be sat there going, "That's bloody soft."
You see, that is precisely the situation.
I agree. I agree with that. It may have been a soft penalty. It could have gone either way. But to sit here and tell me there wasn't contact and there wasn't enough contact for him to go down, that I disagree with.
Well, that's subjective, isn't it? Because ultimately, the only person that knows if there's enough contact to go down is Raheem Sterling. And he's going to say exactly what he needs to say, because ultimately they've got a penalty and won the game. And let's be clear about this. We've had our fair share of very bad decisions go against us. We've had our share of bad decisions. 2010 in South Africa when Frank Lampard scores a perfectly good goal, and we get cheated out of that. Maradona, and so on and so forth. So I don't, there is this argument that things level up. But if I'm a Dane, in that moment, whilst we were the better side and we deserved to win because we were outstanding in our game management.
I think Simon's right. Everything gets levelled up, Andros. And last night, did we see VAR get levelled up? Because so far, VAR has been lauded in this tournament. But VAR failed the system last night, did it not? When you hear someone like Mourinho saying, that wasn't a penalty. That wasn't a penalty. When he says that as clear as day, then I'm thinking, well, it wasn't.
Mourinho's managed at the top level. He's one of the best managers we've ever seen in this game. But has he played on the right wing? Has he played on the right wing? Has he been that tricky player to weave in and out and get contact and know what is enough contact to go down or not? That's another question.
All right, you tell us this morning, penalty or not. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I suppose, because the penalty was given and we saw what happened. At the second attempt, Harry Kane scored and England are in the final. But did Sterling win a penalty by fair and legitimate means, or did it go down too easily? Was it a penalty? Was it not, in your view? And as well as all that, what does it all matter? Because you're on the brink now. England within touching distance of the Euro trophy itself. A major final for the first time in 55 long years.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.